Hey y'all, how you doing? It's been a while. I always end up doing this early every year. Like I'm always like a month early, but you know what? It doesn't matter. In the honor of Kendrick's album dropping tonight, I decided it was a good time to make this video because if his album is anything like The Heart Part 5, then it will definitely be on my year-end list. So let's just hop right in. Number 10, I went with the new Big Thief album. Now, I have this in number 10 because I've actually only heard it recently, and I mean, recency bias, I didn't want to put it too high or too low on the list, so it's just sticking at number 10 for now, with a lot of potential to grow. The songwriting on this album is fantastic. The production is really good too, just like the atmosphere that they achieved for such a long album is really amazing that it's that consistent all the way through. Usually when an album's like over 20 songs, it's not that consistent all the way through, but this Big Thief album has it all. Great folk songwriting, great instrumentals, just a really great atmosphere. Number 9, I went with Kylo Kish, American Girl, and my first introduction to Kylo Kish was her work with Vince Staples throughout the years, but I never listened to her solo stuff. So going into this, I didn't really know what to expect, and I got a really good conceptual electropop album. Again, production on this is pretty much flawless. There are some absolute bangers of beats on here. The concept is cool. I assume it deals with like materialism and like the current state of America. I've never been like good at reading into concepts, but that's kind of what I got out of it. The song No Apology is just so good. Yeah, I gotta give it to Kylo. It's a great album. Number 8 is an album that probably only I know, but hopefully a lot of you go check it out after this video. It's called Mistakes Were Made by a Man, and this is an album of a friend from a friend's. So this isn't like a self-promotion or anything. I literally just think this album is really good. This is a beat tape full of sample-based productions, but the samples and the drums are just ridiculous. There's a couple songs with these really subtle guitar loops that just add so much to it, and the atmospheres and layers of the beats are just so good. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this ends up in my top 10 for like the final year. Number 7, the new Spiritualized album, Everything Was Beautiful. This is actually my introduction to Spiritualized. As big a dream pop, space rock fan that I am, this was the first I'd heard of him, and I really liked this album. Pretty much every song on here just feels like an ascension into space, especially the mainline song in the album's opener. It's just such a joyful experience. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's only 7 songs in 40 minutes. All the songs are pretty long, but they all have a payoff it's just really uplifting. Number 6, Pusha T, It's Almost Dry. Lyrically, I didn't think this was up to par with Pusha T's former project, Daytona. However, I thought the production on this was just as good, if not better. The Smoker Shine the Coops is one of the hardest songs I've heard this year. I love the sample, the Beyonce sample on Rock and Roll. Brambleton's like the perfect opener for this. Like, you just know Push is going to be going hard. But yeah, I pretty much have nothing negative to say about this new Pusha T album. I think it's really good. Number 5, the new Weeknd album, Dawn FM. This was kind of a grower because I didn't love it at first. The weird thing he was doing with his voice on Gasoline just like pushed me away from the album for a little bit. But coming back to it, the way he switches up his voice like that into his actual singing voice, I love that song now. And I love pretty much the whole album, although I think it does lose a lot of steam towards the end. Like the first, like 7 songs are all fantastic. Out of Time, the sample on that is ridiculous. I love the little Quincy interlude before that to lead into it. Best Friends is a fantastically written song. Just a lot more jams from The Weeknd. The guy just doesn't miss, and I was excited to figure out that this album is going to be part of a trilogy, and there's going to be one more album in like the After Hours Dawn FM trilogy, so I'm really looking forward to that too. Number 4, Black Country New Road, Ants From Up There. I'm in the minority that didn't really see the appeal of Black Country New Road's first album. I don't know why, it just like wasn't for me. But this album, like as soon as it kicked off, I was blown away by the instrumentation. The intro that leads into Chaos Space Marine, it just like makes you feel things even though the dude hasn't uttered a word yet. And I understand the lead singer is, well, he departed from the group. This was the last album that they're gonna make together. And like his performances on this album are just so heartfelt. And I see a lot of people calling it sad, but I kind of see this album as more bittersweet than anything. There's a lot of hopefulness to it that I think people are missing out on, especially on songs like Goodwill Hunting and Concord. Like, they may sound sad upon first listen, but I kind of got this hopefulness from the record, and I think that's why I appreciate it so much. The thing that stands out about this Black Country New Road album is definitely the instrumentation, the violins. Hell, I don't even know what instruments they're playing half the time, but I just know it sounds incredible. Despite the lead vocalist leaving the group, I am excited to see what these guys do next, strictly from an instrumental standpoint. Number 3, Denzel Curry, Melt My Eyes, See My Future. The last video I released actually was a Denzel album ranking, kind of inspired by this album, because if you watched it, you know this is now my favorite Denzel album. It's him at his most conscious, at his best lyrically, production-wise. It's really good. Like, it's just pretty much boom bap beats, a couple trap beats here and there, but I think for the subject matter Denzel was rhyming about for the album, boom bap really fit it. And it's cool that like Denzel fans that maybe never heard that style of rap are getting a chance to hear Denzel do it. Maybe that'll lead them into finding more music like it. But I literally have nothing negative to say about this album. I like pretty much every song. X-Wing has such a good hook. What he was talking about on Walkin', like, that's definitely a candidate for Song of the Year. Just a ton of good production and good rhymes. And the one bar on the Posse cut, I forget what it's called, Ain't No Way, the one bar, I kill a mic on any LP, or Run the Jewels because I kill a mic on any LP, that bar is just ridiculous. Number 2, No and Sadistic, Bring Me Back When the World Is Cured. I was absolutely delighted when I heard these two made a full-length project together, because I know they've talked about working together again before, but I didn't know it would be like now. Like, I heard the album was out before I was even waiting for the album, so I got to listen to it right away. And my god, I was absolutely blown away. Sometimes with sadistic projects, the subject matter can get kind of samey and repetitive, but not with this one, and I think a large part of that has to do with No's production. His bass lines are so thick. The sample, I don't know any of these samples except like one, but they're just like so perfect, and he takes these like old like 60s songs and samples them, and he puts these super thick bass lines over them, and they just get stuck in your head. The song Rain Clouds Part 1 with Lucy Camp, she has like my favorite verse of the year, and I think a lot of that has to do with like just how deeply layered everything is on the song. And it stands out because not a lot of sadistic songs are optimistic, but she kind of ends her verse on an optimistic note. But yeah, man, if you've never heard of these guys and if you've never heard of this album, you should definitely at least give it a shot. It's not for everybody, but you might at least really like the production. And finally, number 1, I went with the new Beach House record, Once Twice Melody. This was kind of hard to rank because a lot of the songs came out last year, but the full thing came out this year in 2022. So I have to put it on the 2022 list. And I think it's safe to say at this point that this is, at least right now, my favorite Beach House album. They completely stepped up their game melodically. I was really concerned when they said there wouldn't be any electric guitars on this project, because that's one of the reasons I loved 7 so much. But they made do with the acoustic, and it sounds so good. Like, it'll hook you right away with the title track. Superstar sounds like vintage Beach House. Masquerade is a song that doesn't sound like vintage Beach House, but I would love to hear them experiment more with like those sort of electronic drums and just like the super like eerie, dark atmosphere. There's a couple songs on here that are like way darker than any Beach House song they've released, and I think that's a good style for them. I think that would be really cool to see them delve further into in the future. There's a couple duds at the end of the album that I think the album would have benefited if they just left them off. I think this album should have ended on Finale 1, because the song is called Finale. You think it's like a grand ending, and just because it fits like an album closer vibe. Like, I thought it was a closer when I heard the album for the first time, but it's not. But that's really the only negative thing I have to say about this. The production, pretty much all the way through, is incredible. Victoria, melodically, is on top of her game, as always. And for now, this is my album of the year. Anyway, guys, it was super good to be back. It's not that I haven't been inspired by YouTube, it's just I haven't really had any ideas. So finally Midyear came around, and I have a video for you, so I'm excited about that. I'll try to be more consistent, but check some of these albums out if you've never heard them before, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later.